and list items that can help create value from your negotiation. So the point here is that list what is important to you and list what is important to the other side. And then look at what is not important to you and what is not important to the other side. Now, what you're looking for is especially for elements that are very important to you and are not important to the other side. And elements that are not important to you and that are very important to the other side. So what you want to do is you want to exchange these things that are out of the middle. So if, for example, price is very important to the other side, but quality is not, or delivery terms is not, or training is not. So you can make a concession and say, all right, I will reduce the price, but in exchange for not having to provide you with training, right? So if the other side is not so much interested in training because they can provide it themselves at a lower cost, and for me training is a big expense, then I can make a price concession and offer this, and by doing that, we create more value. Because training doesn't mean so much to me, and it means a lot to me, and price doesn't mean that much to me, as long as I can make my margin. All right, so if I can reduce my training cost, I would be prepared to actually reduce the price of what I'm offering. Then look at your objectives and try to prioritize them. Okay. So, for example, the price. What is my minimum acceptable price? And if I'm selling something, right? If I'm selling the car, what is the minimum price that I want to have? For example, 3.5 million. What is the ideal price? Is 4.5. And what is my my acceptable price? So somewhere in the middle is my acceptable price is somewhere between my minimum price and the ideal price, my objective price, and do this not only for price but also, for example, for other terms in terms of insurance, in terms of options that are part of the car. So you're going to set these minimum price and the base price prior to the negotiation, not during the negotiation. Because during the negotiation, if you still need to think about it, you're likely to make mistakes. So that's why you're going to put all your objectives on paper before entering negotiation, not during negotiation. And you're going to share the negotiation by starting to discuss your shared objectives. So what do we both want? But we both want to make this deal. So for me, I would like to sell my car, and for you, you would like to buy the car. So the car in itself is okay. We just need to talk about the conditions, right? So you like the car, it's nice, it's a nice color, it has the right mileage. So basically the car is not the problem, but we need to talk about the price, about the financing terms, about warranty, about options. These things we need to agree upon, but let's look at the shared objectives first. So it's basically that will usually happen in a negotiation to already establish, okay, where do we have common ground? So if the more common ground we have, the more likely it is that we will come to the deal. Of course, before even stepping into the showroom, I'm going to look at alternatives. If I'm going to look for a car, then before going there, I will look at other showrooms and look at, okay, what other car could I buy that are maybe almost as good? So I would never buy a car without having looked at any other car. So that is my bet. If I find maybe 2, 3, 4 cars, and I will have a look. I'm going to discuss with the seller for under which conditions they are going to offer me that car, and I'm going to make my first choice. Then, but before I'm going to decide on that car, if I find a very nice car at a good price with the right conditions, then going into the next showroom will give me a lot of negotiating power, because I know that if I will not buy that car, I have a very good backup alternative. My alternative is to buy a car that I really like at an acceptable price. So if I don't get a very good deal, I will be able to get at least a car that I like. So the stronger your background, the stronger your negotiation position, and the stronger your negotiation tactic it can be. So if you're not going to offer me that car for 3.5, then I cannot buy it, because I will buy another car that I've already found. And then the seller will probably say, what kind of car did you look at? Well, I've been looking at this Ford Mustang. Ford Mustang. You know the track record of Ford Mustang. You seriously think that is a competitively decent car? Look at the mileage, look at the maintenance cost, look at all these things. And if you consider that, then you consider like Ford Mustang. If you're interested in the Mustang, then maybe you should better look at. So this is also part of the negotiation. Concession strategy. I already mentioned this briefly. Don't give away anything for nothing. Always ask something in return. So if they say, okay, well, I'm prepared to lower the price from 4 million to 3.8, but in that case, I will demand immediate payment. Right. So if I'm going to lower the price, but in exchange for immediate payment, then you might say, okay, well, immediate payment is fine, but then I will only pay you 3.6. Okay, well, 3.6 with immediate payment, but then without the car stereo. Okay, now, so basically that's how it works. So every time you make a concession, you have to show that, okay, that hurts, but you're going to give away something that is not that important for you in exchange for something that could be important to the other side. So state the conditions attached to your concession and what your counter expectations are, just like I showed in the example. So you start usually with a bigger concession, at least in Europe, not in the Middle East, but in Europe you start with bigger concessions, and you follow with smaller concessions. Basically, you also want to make sure that you want to give the other side the impression that you're starting to approach your base price, right? So you're gonna make a big concession, and if you are going to actually make another big concession, then the other side might feel that the end is not in sight yet. So it's smarter to say, okay, I'm going to make a big concession first, and then I'm going to make smaller and smaller and smaller concessions, so that the other side feels, okay, in terms of price, there's not much to gain for me. So let's look at other options so that we can find each other. Also, never make the same concession again and again and again. So if I'm going to reduce Ichiman yen. Okay, I'm going to give you another Ichiman yen. Then the other side might think, oh, probably if I'm going to ask it again, he will give me another Ichiman yen. And then, so basically highlight the costs of every concession that you make. So you're going to say, okay, all right, so I've already given you, from my opening bid, I already given you 20-month plus a 30-month concession. So that's already 50-month concession that you have made. Now also you want to get insurance. You know what that's going to cost me. So you always need to make sure that you highlight the cost of the other side, that you are showing not do that again. So if you are willing to buy it today, I can give you that price. And okay, so that is another concession. So you're working very hard to satisfy the customer and make sure that the final offers are absolutely final. Yeah, so that happens a lot. Nibbling. I don't know if you know that strategy, but so you already have the deal. You think you've sold the car, and then say, yeah, but so I think I can get metallic black that's included, right? And then we already made a deal. So metallic, we also want metallic paint. That's an extra cost. And yeah, sure, there is a seat heater in there, right? And all these things, that's called nibbling. So make sure that you are finalizing immediately, otherwise people will start to nibble because you already excited that you sold the car. And that could actually happen, that people are nibbling away all your profit. So what you're going to do here is you're going to write it down. You're going to say your deal objective is I want to get 4 million for this car, and if I don't get 3.5, then sorry, we will not going to sell it. The aspiration is actually 4.5. So that is what I really would want to have. So that is probably close to my opening price. My bet now is that if I don't sell the car to this person, I already have an offer from another buyer at somewhere probably 3.5 because that's my min. And my concession strategy is that, okay, let's give away a part of the price if they pay immediately, because I don't want to give them credit. I need that money right now because I'm going to buy another car.
エイトさん、this table, we should consider about this table zero sum?
No,
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 not zero sum.
not zero sum.
Oh.
Actually, zero. So basically, the way it works is that in the early stage, you're going to look at, okay, what negotiation space do I have?
No.
So their objectives and our objectives. It's okay. So we need to end. They have this price somewhere within the your base and their base, and your objective, your aspiration, and their aspiration. So that is your negotiation space. But it's not only price. It's also other things. So what you're going to do is with every concession that you make. So I'm going to give you warranty, but in exchange they are going to pay immediately. Right? So I'm going to give you warranty with this car for a year for free, but you need to pay me immediately. So for me, my cash flow is very important.
No.
So for me, cash flow means a lot. Warranty, okay, those costs could come later, and but for me, the cost that come later is okay. I need the money right now. So for me, it's beneficial to get the money right now, even though I may have some additional cost later. But for the other side, if they have a lot of cash, then for them having the warranty is probably is better, because and they already have the money in cash, so they don't need to go to the bank, they don't need to incur extra cost. So for them, paying immediately is not a big deal, basically. Right? So they have the money anyway, so it's not a big deal, and the warranty is actually peace of mind. No. So in that case, if we make that deal, then we are growing the benefit for us and the benefit for them. So the initial stages are actually aimed at trying to make these exchanges. So making concessions, and every concession is trying to get something that is valuable to us and giving something that is not valuable to us in return. If the other side also does that, then you adding value and adding value and adding value in the table. So you're growing the pie. Then at a certain point, you come to the if you it's more psychological game, right? So you need to look at what is driving the other side. Look in their pockets. Do they have cash? What is important to them? So what drives them? So making these concessions, making proposals that fulfill their real needs instead of their positions, you can grow the pie. And but after you grow and grow and grow the pie, your negotiation strategy is going to change, because after that you cannot grow the pie anymore. After that, it's a matter of getting as big piece as possible.
This is very difficult. Negotiation is not just once.
No.
There's many times to have negotiations.
Right.
Once, twice,
many steps. So the first steps are actually aimed at making the pie bigger. Making the pie bigger. But once you reach the point where it's okay, I think we've got all the value that we have on the table. After that, you're reaching a stage of actually getting the biggest part possible. So then it becomes a zero-sum game, and you need to get the biggest piece, right? So your negotiation strategy is constantly changing, actually, based on the phase of the stage of the negotiation.
It's very difficult.
It's not easy.
Not easy.
It's not easy. A good negotiator is well, of course, a good negotiator can make a lot of money, but it's very difficult. And that's why
if I am just a foreigner in a foreign country, and I go to the shop and buy the one things,
right.
This is just once negotiation. But I'm in Japan. I frequently go to the shop. This is a very different case.
Yes.
This is very difficult.
That is very difficult. Well, first of all, I think there's hardly any negotiation done when it comes to, at least to price, in Japan. Like other cultures in Europe, like negotiation is very normal. And when you go further south, if you go to Middle East, if you go to Africa, negotiate, you need to negotiate everything. Basically, nothing has a price tag. You negotiate everything. It's very tiresome for people from Europe, even. I think for Japanese it will be very, very tiresome, because in Japan there is very little negotiation. That is not this explicit haggling about taking the biggest share. So if you look at this, then you can already see that this is a matter of preparation, creating a model, trying to understand the other side, creating some kind of like a game theoretic approach, where you say, okay, how can we grow the value? And it's also a matter of building up relationships, because you need to separate the position from the interest. So it's also a psychological game. It's an absolute game, so like almost like mathematical game, but it's also a psychological game. So you need to, like, Westerners kind of understand the rules of the game and they are engaging accordingly. But if you don't know the rules of the game, and if you cannot make any concessions in the game, if you cannot smoothly exchange value, you're going to drag out the negotiation very long. So the transaction costs of doing business with the Japanese party are very, very high. Plus, a Westerner is always taught, a Western negotiator is always being taught that you always need to negotiate with the decision maker, which is very difficult, because especially when it comes to foreign negotiation, usually the decision maker sits in Tokyo and not at the negotiation table. It's somewhere in the boardroom making the negotiation, but actually doing the negotiation after the negotiation, when the negotiator needs to report back to head office and they will come with a counter proposal. So, as you can see here, this is probably one of the reasons why negotiating with Europeans is so tough.